He was unconscious, flat on the canvas. The man who once looked untouchable had finally fallen. Millions watched as he stared at the arena lights, his greatest rival celebrating above him. For the first time in years, Poatan had been broken. But what nobody knew was that this defeat would unleash the most terrifying version of him the fighting world had ever seen. Alex Pereira. I'll be hiding a few gloves throughout the video. Try to find all the hidden gloves. Before the sold-out arenas, before the UFC gold, before becoming one of the most feared knockout artists on the planet, Alex Pereira was just a kid trying to survive. He grew up in São Bernardo do Campo, Brazil, in a poor neighborhood where opportunities were scarce and temptation waited around every corner. Life wasn't romantic. It wasn't the inspiring movie version people like to imagine. It was difficult, repetitive, and often hopeless. By the age of 12, Alex had dropped out of school. Instead of classrooms, he found himself working in a tire shop. Long hours, dirty hands, little money, and then came alcohol. What started as an escape slowly became a prison. While most future champions were developing discipline, Alex was losing himself. Drinking became part of everyday life. The idea that this teenager would one day become a world champion sounded ridiculous. But sometimes the future hides in the places nobody thinks to look. At 21 years old, searching for a way to escape his addiction, Alex walked into a kickboxing gym. He wasn't chasing greatness. He wasn't dreaming about titles. He was simply trying to save himself. That decision changed combat sports forever. At first, there was nothing glamorous about it. The sessions were brutal. The coaches pushed him relentlessly. The training exposed every weakness he had. But something unexpected happened. Alex kept coming back. Then people started noticing something unusual. His power, the sound his strikes made, the reactions of sparring partners. There was something different about this quiet Brazilian. He didn't talk much. He didn't seek attention. But when he hit people, they stayed hit. As his kickboxing career progressed, victories began stacking up, then knockouts followed. Soon, people stopped viewing him as another prospect. They started fearing him. But destiny had prepared a rival who defined an entire era. A talented kickboxer from New Zealand named Israel Adesanya. Confident, charismatic, a master of mind games. Everything Alex wasn't. Their first meeting wasn't supposed to become legendary. Adesanya was already building a reputation as one of the sport's brightest stars. Pereira was respected, but not globally famous. Then they fought, and Alex won. It shocked many observers. Adesanya had the skill, the movement, the swagger. Yet Pereira had something harder to explain. Composure. He walked through pressure without changing expression. He remained calm while chaos unfolded around him. But the rivalry wasn't finished. Years later, they met again. The stakes were even higher. Adesanya wanted revenge. He controlled stretches of the fight beautifully. Then came the left hook, a strike that would echo throughout combat sports. Adesanya collapsed. Alex Pereira had knocked him out twice. For Israel Adesanya, it became a nightmare. For Alex Pereira, it became proof. He belonged among the elite. Most fighters would have stayed exactly where they were. Alex had conquered kickboxing. He had become a two-division glory champion. He had earned respect. He could have protected his legacy. Instead, he started over. At an age when many fighters consider retirement, Alex entered mixed martial arts. Critics laughed. Too old, too inexperienced, too one-dimensional. The UFC wasn't kickboxing. Wrestlers would expose him. Grapplers would drown him. The experiment would fail. Alex listened, then ignored every word. His UFC journey moved quickly, almost suspiciously quickly, because there was one story the organization understood better than anyone. Adesanya versus Pereira, the unfinished business. Fans couldn't look away. Each victory pushed Alex closer to the middleweight champion. Some believed the UFC was rushing him. Others believed destiny was simply catching up. Finally, the fight arrived. Madison Square Garden. the world's most famous arena. Israel Adesanya entered as champion. Alex Pereira entered carrying years of history. Early on, Adesanya looked brilliant. His movement frustrated Pereira. His counters landed. At the end of the first round, Alex nearly finished him. But Adesanya survived. The momentum shifted repeatedly. Then came the fifth round. Pereira marched forward. No panic. No desperation. Just pressure. Adesanya retreated. The crowd erupted. Punch after punch crashed through the champion's defenses. The referee stepped in. Alex Pereira became UFC middleweight champion. The man who dropped out of school, the former alcoholic, the tire shop worker, now stood at the top of the sport. It should have been the perfect ending. Instead, it became the beginning of his darkest chapter. The rematch arrived. Adesanya carried years of frustration into the cage. He had heard the jokes, the memes, the reminders that Pereira owned victories over him. This time felt different. Alex pressured forward, confident, perhaps too confident. Then it happened. Adesanya slipped backward and unleashed a perfectly timed counter. Pereira crashed the canvas. Unconscious, the arena exploded. For the first time in years, Poatan had been knocked out, his aura shattered. People questioned everything. Had the myth finally ended? Was he exposed? Was the fast rise nothing more than clever matchmaking? Champions reveal themselves through victory. Legends reveal themselves through defeat. Alex chose not to complain. No excuses. No emotional interviews. No public breakdown. He simply went back to work. Then he made another shocking decision. He moved up to light heavyweight. Bigger opponents. Harder hitters. Fresh challenges. Many believed he was running from Adesanya. Others believed he was chasing history. Once again, Pereira ignored the noise. Against Jan Blachowicz, he answered questions about his grappling. Against Yuri Prochaska, he entered a war. The former champion's unpredictability terrified most opponents. Alex remained calm, patient, violent. When the opportunity appeared, he seized it. Another stoppage, another title. Alex Pereira became UFC light heavyweight champion. 2 divisions, 2 championships. An achievement few fighters ever touch. Yet what fascinated fans wasn't just a success. It was a simplicity. No extravagant speeches. No desperate attempts to become a celebrity. No manufactured personality. Just a man carrying years of hardship behind an unreadable expression. Then came title defenses, dangerous challengers, new threats. Each fight raised the same question. How much longer could this continue? Because Alex Pereira had entered elite MMA later than almost everyone else. Time wasn't his ally. Every walk to the octagon carried urgency. Every fight felt like borrowed time. And maybe that's why fans connected with him. He wasn't the chosen prodigy. He wasn't built in a laboratory for greatness. He lost years to addiction. He started late. He heard every reason explaining why he couldn't succeed. Then he achieved things that weren't supposed to happen. From the tire shop to glory champion. From alcoholism to world-class discipline. From kickboxing star to UFC champion. Twice, Alex Pereira's story isn't really about fighting. It's about reinvention. About understanding that your past doesn't own your future. That failure doesn't get the final word. That starting late doesn't mean finishing last. Some people are born believing they can become legends. Others spend years convincing themselves they're not destined for anything special. Alex Pereira belonged to the second group, until one decision changed everything. He walked into a gym looking for a way to save his life. He walked out becoming one of the most feared men in combat sports history. And somewhere beneath the championships, knockouts, and sold-out arenas, the quiet kid from Brazil still exists. The teenager nobody expected anything from. The man who refused to surrender to the version of himself that the world had already accepted. Because Poatan's greatest victory wasn't knocking out champions. It wasn't winning belts. It wasn't revenge. It was proving that no matter how lost you become, you can still choose a different ending. And sometimes, the most dangerous fighters aren't the ones born for greatness. They're the ones who had to fight for the right to believe they deserve it at all.